Saturday at 10 a.m. I am your host Ismaila. With me today in the studio is Arr Banjul, a resident of Banjul and also a member of Arr Banjul, a movement that is committed to protecting the city from environmental degradation and many more. Mr. Jallo, welcome to One-on-One here on Voice Out Studio.
Thank you.
Alright, Banjul, the capital city of the Gambia, has a population size of about 24,000 inhabitants. Its strategic location at the mouth of the River Gambia serves as an important administrative and commercial hub of the country. Despite its significance, the city has been experiencing severe threats such as rising in sea level and seasonal flooding. These risks are further compounded by human activities such as industrialization and mining. So as we are talking to you right now, the city is just 1 meter above sea level, and experts warn without swift intervention, the city could be lost. So Mr. Jallo, we want you to take us through some of the core values, to tell us who you are, the core values of your organization, and some of your achievements as well.
Thank you so much. By the way, my name is Amadou Jallo, which you've already stated, and of Arr Banjul. Arr Banjul is actually a Wolof name. It emanated from a Wolof word called Arr, means protect. So the Banjul is the community where this organization was initiated. However, this took place, or it was initiated in 2022. That was after the Banjul flood occurred, where so many families lost properties, lost a lot of things that actually affected the life and the livelihood of the people of the city. As a result, we started to make some research or inquiry about what causes this flood. During our research and consultation, we came to realize that the Banjul Rehabilitation Project that was launched by the President, given to Hadim Gai, in order to rehabilitate the roads infrastructure of the city, contributed massively towards what brought about the flood. Now, during this time, we took it upon ourselves to make sure that the cost or the damage that they've done to the community and the people itself should be not, or should not be just let to lie low like that. So as a result, we initiated this organization. We had a consultation with many of these stakeholders. But however, to some extent, they were not willing to, acknowledge the wrongs that they have done to the community, but also the environment that surrounds the community. As a result, we had a protest in 2022. Some of us were arrested and we were taken to the headquarters. But however, knowing that what we were fighting for is not only for ourselves, but for the Gambia itself. Given the significance of the city, one must understand that Banjul submerging or Banjul facing climate threats is also equivalent to the entire country facing climate threats. Why? Because most of the most important institutions that runs the state is found within the city. And also when you look at the historical evolution of the Gambia itself, starting from politics, social affairs, economy, everything, evolves around Banjul. So it's very important to make sure that we protect the city. As a result, that was why we initiated this organization to fight for mitigation, climate mitigation, but also practical policy reforms to make sure that all stakeholders and institutions that governs the affairs of the city should prioritize issues of climate and climate change.
Okay, Mr. Jallos, like you tell us about Arr Banjul, some of your achievements.
Okay, I say Arr Banjul. Arr Banjul is an organization that is able to achieve so many things that if I am to put it in a very summarized way, I will say we've achieved policy programs that through our advocacy and of course consultation programs that we organize between stakeholders and communities, there are some, policies that are reforms that have taken place when it comes to issues concerning environment and climate change within the city. The other one is when you look at the area of climate mitigation, planting trees. We've involved ourselves, mangrove restoration. We've done a lot around this area. And of course, raising the awareness of the people have always been a priority for us, where we are participating in so many programs to make sure that the community members are aware of issues concerning climate change.
Okay, like being an environmentalist, what are the latest conservation?
In your fight against like environmental degradation in the state of Banjul here?
However, for people like or in Banjul, there have been so many challenges, because looking at the amount of effort that organizations like Arr Banjul is putting forward, but also the activities that are taking place, especially within the wetland area, it is really, really, I would say, disheartening to some extent, because looking at, for example, the mining that is taking place at the bridge, you look at the encroachment of industrialization of the wetland area, where the mangrove are being completely destroyed, where structures are established on top of these areas, which was serving as, of course, a breeding space for nature, but as well for Banjulians. It is really, really difficult and challenging, I would say.
Yeah, like we have observed like the latest development is currently taking place that has to do with the $20 million
port expansion and the ferry service. So how is that idea shaping your fight for like the idea of the industrialization of Banjul here?
However, based on our interaction with some of these institutions, the likes of the port and then the expansion of the port, I would say it is a very bad experience to some extent, because looking at the establishment of the dry port in Banjul within the wetland, it is a very bad imagery, and as well it is destroying the, I would say, the flora and fauna of Banjul. However, one would have expected that, because among the areas of intervention from that, or the taking points that was given to the ports to fulfill before this particular money will be released, was also to make sure that the environment is being, assessed properly, and mitigational measures are being taken and prioritized. But this is not happening, and these have not taken place. So to, in short, I would say it have created much more damage than in fact reparation.
So I want to understand,
because if the government is to like to take any decision related to industrialization and then so on, I think they are expected to consult the community members or the watchdog, especially you guys as an environmental watchdog. So was there any consultation conducted, and if so, what are some of the agreement and disagreement when you meet those people?
Yes, I think issues of consultation have never been a big problem for the government institution as far as environment is concerned. But the reality is, these consultations are just meant for photo op. It's like what is being discussed is never going to be implemented. So it's just like to invite the people to have the photo op and the gallery. That is it. It's nothing impactful to communities as far as I am concerned, because if you discuss and say these are the threats and identify the problems, and then it is being tabled out, and you had an agreement and come up with resolutions, and one will expect these resolutions are being implemented. Now, if these resolutions are not being prioritized, then the essence of just having the consultation was not necessary.
so like, are you going
To sit and then
work them, like do whatever
they want? Because the repercussion could be very high. As an environmentalist, since you have observed that from the government now, what stance do you want to take to make sure this issue is addressed?
I would say right now we are in fact on the verge of, I will say, producing a film sort of, or a video that is going to be able to project the entire damage that have taken place, especially the wetland area of Banjul. You will find that there are serious damages that are taking place, and if you look at the importance of the Tanbi wetland, especially the mangrove and wetland areas when it comes to our life and our social activities as a people, it is really fundamental. And having it been completely destroyed or annihilated for industrial purposes is not something that we have to prioritize. But I will say we have not stopped engaging and we have not stopped putting our effort. But in this country, it's very challenging. It's really challenging, especially when you have a government that does not prioritize issues of environment. Because I would say the past regime of, I would say, the former regime, absolutely, when you look at the environmental, I would say, efforts that the former regime was putting forth, you find that this the current regime is not making any effort to make sure that the environment of the Gambia or issues of climate is being prioritized. Because maybe you might be aware that some of the Ramsar Treaty or designated areas happens from 1996 or 1994 down the lane, which was from the I would say former regime. So we have 3 areas that was designated by the former regime, and then protection of the areas it was prioritized. But now, looking at the damage across the country, it is really disheartening and it is not promising, by the way.
So like if I get you well, are you
Saying
the former regime,
say during the tenure of Yahya Jammeh, Yahya Jammeh's government, they are more concerned on environmental protection than this recent government?
Definitely. As I tell you, look at some of the activities that Jammeh was involved in. I tell you, the 3 areas that was designated as a Ramsar area to be preserved was during the regime of Jammeh. You understand? Designation of some areas, the likes of the Monkey Park and other areas as, you understand, areas that should be preserved and protected for the flora and fauna. But I mean, look at all the things that is happening since this regime came in, and look at the sand mining at the Denton Bridge. You understand? All these things are taking place within this regime. So, in short, the current regime, Barrow's regime, does not prioritize issues of climate change and environmental protection.
so what does that signal?
It signals that he did not prioritize the future generation of the Gambia, because looking at the threats that it will come with, for example, like I was telling you, you know that Banjul hosts 80% to 90% of the institution that makes this country to function. Now, the biggest threat that Banjul is faced with is sea level rise, which means a wave of maybe 4 meters above sea level. What will happen? You will have almost 60 to 80 to 75% of the total land of Banjul will be lost, where you have the National Assembly, the High Court, the State House, the Central Bank. You have the Port Authority. You have the most important business area. You have the GRA collecting our taxes, the Chief of Defense, or you understand. All these institutions are found within Banjul. Now, if all these institutions submerge, what will happen? Do you think we will have a country? We will not have a country. That's the reality. We will not have a state, because the operation of the state itself will be constrained by having the place where it will operate. And these are not institutions that you will just wake up one day and then you move it from one place to another. You understand? And that's what I'm telling you. Now, looking at all these things going on, this current regime is allowing business people to capitalize on the wetland, encroaching the wetland, you understand, destroying and annihilating completely the mangrove, you understand, which have served as a belt to reduce sea waves and as well the possibility of sea level rise and as well flood. Now, if you are encouraging companies to go in and destroy these areas and establish big factories, what are you doing? It means you want that particular community to be completely destroyed.
Well, viewers, we are working one-on-one here on Voice Out Digital. I'm joined today by Amadou Rejalo, a member of Arr Banjul. He stated like the former regime, like in the tenure of Yahya Jammeh, has more concern on environmental protection than this current government. Looking at the recent developments currently taking place in the city. So I want to ask you, like, by looking at the new development which is currently taking place, the ports, the mining, and so on, how is that increasing the risk of the city's vulnerability to flooding and then rising sea level as well?
Yes, I would say the vulnerability is becoming higher, like I told you. Why? Because looking at, for example, the sand drenching, or like they say sand drenching, but it is sand mining that is taking place at the bridge. Imagine when we went to NEA for them to provide for us the impact assessment. You know what they provide for us? It was a document that was it was a master's thesis that was done or conducted by a Belgian around 2006, 2004, around that period. That was the document they provide. And this guy came, he was a civil engineer. He took Banjul as his case studies. Now he came to Banjul, and then through his, studies or research which he was doing, he suggested that there were some sandbars around the Denton Bridge, which should be removed to ease the flow of the water. But however, this guy acknowledged within that document that he did not have all the materials he needed to make sure that he can be able to establish some of the suggestions that he had put in this particular document, which means aside from this document, NEA does not have any document that they could be able to reference from to say that the mining that is taking place at the bridge, it's not going to have any impact either on the bridge or in fact the island itself. That's one problem. The other problem is looking at handing over a hectare of land to Hadim Gai to establish his dry port. You understand? You cannot find the impact assessment anywhere. There's no impact assessment that you can access when you come to all these things. Now, imagine having over 1 hectare of mangroves within the wetland. I will share some of the drone shots that we have with us right now. Just some of them because it's part of what we are going to be putting into the video that we are going to produce about the environmental realities of Banjul. If you look at how they established the dry port, you understand, a whole hectare of thick forest of mangrove completely annihilated, completely destroyed. Now you have the opposite, establishing a petrol station in the wetland by Jawel. You have Nassim establishing a whole factory inside that wetland. You have all the people developing stores in that wetland. Now, having also the dump site of Banjul, which is at the center of that particular wetland area. Now, imagine the impact of the port, whereas you have a lot of trucks going in order to get containers out. Now, the amount of carbon monoxide that will be released into the atmosphere. Now, if we reduce our carbon sink, which is the mangroves, what is going to happen to the life and livelihood of the people who are in the city? Because we continue destroying the only area that is able to absorb and reduce the carbon that is found within that will be emitted into the atmosphere of Banjul. Now, if we remove that, while we continue increasing the area whereby turning the place to a business center, what is going to happen? It means it's going to increase the lack of properly purified air for the people who are living there. Now, is that not going to increase the number of diseases? People who are living with non-communicable diseases like asthma and the like. If too much carbon happens, what is going to happen? It's going to affect their health. So it's in every direction or in every aspect that you looked at it, there are so many damages that it will bring to the people of Banjul. Now, the other thing is when it comes to the resident itself, people are struggling now when it comes to issues of housing in Banjul. Why? Because many many businessmen and women are establishing stores so that they can cut costs. For example, if you are going to be removing or bringing your stuff from the port and your store is in Westfield, there will be increment of cost. But if the store is in Banjul, you understand, you can cut cost, right? Now, this is making turning an entire constituency in Banjul, that is Banjul South, to a store area. You find that the number of people that used to live in Banjul South, most of them now are moving to the Combos. You understand? So it is also, destabilizing families, because you will find now family conflict when it comes to, for example, selling of the compound. For example, this is a family compound. Now we want to sell it because there is huge money. But is that not going to bring conflict? Yes, it is. So the conflict is, we cannot estimate it, by the way.
Okay, so like...
Looking at the fact that NEA has been given the mandate, before giving any license to a company to conduct mining or so on, did not go to the ground to observe the situation. So is it like they have been corrupt bribed by those institutions not to go and then do it, or is it because of laziness?
I will say maybe because I don't also want to just lay words or lay claims that are not realistic. You understand? But I believe it is a serious failure at their end. I would say it is a failure of them executing their duties as per what the Constitution enshrines or as per what the Name Act enshrines. Now, when you go to them sometimes, for example, right now they are pouring another gravel near the where you have the pumping machine known as palm machine in Banjul. You understand? They're putting more gravel on top of the other mangrove. When we raised this alert, in fact, we sent this information to NEA. But NEA went to that place and made the observation, but they cannot make any publication about it. And the question we asked was, who is doing this? We want to know who is doing that. But they don't bring any publication. They did not say anything, and they just allow things to lay low like that. So I feel like the level of incapability of the institution in making sure that they protect the environment of the Gambia is really alarming.
Okay, now
we've observed after the change of government, 2016 and so on, there is like massive construction of roads in Banjul, like the concrete roads from different areas. After that, we have also seen like seasonal flooding. Every year Banjul will be flooding. Even recently they also observed the same thing. So like in this case now, who do you think has to be held accountable, and then what are your justifications?
I think the current government ought to be blamed for it, because looking at what like the rehabilitation projects, we've been complaining about it on a daily basis, because having that Banjul is an island, and then the water table is very closed, and you understand, concreting the entire community without expanding the drainage system and having a proper, functional, effective and efficient drainage system for the city, which means you are rendering the city to be much more prone to flood. Why? Because the two exits that the city has is the drainage and the sewage system, which are interconnected. You understand? They are interconnected to some extent. Now, looking at if at all the entire city is been concrete, which means the sponginess of the soil will be gone. The soil will no more be able to absorb the water when there is rainwater. You understand? Which means it can only use either the drainage or the sewage system. And the other problem that this brings along it, the other problem that this bring along with is you will find that the sewage system of Banjul is pumped back into the sea. Now, this water that comes from the sewage and the drainage is not being treated. And when it is being pumped back into the sea, what happened? The fish that we usually eat come from the what? Come from the sea. So, what is going to happen to us, our health? It is we are in a serious risk. That is why I said this government, and especially the Banjul City Council, who is the custodian of the city, must prioritize issues of climate change. If not, we are not preparing a good future for the generations that are going that are coming ahead.
Okay,
like you've mentioned, like there's a pumping machine that pumps that water from the city down to the sea. So with this port expansion, how is it like heightening the sea level to make sure that like for in some way, God forbid, like for it to get into the city?
By the way, one would have in fact expected that they will increase the port in what, like in sea, but what they did was is to increase the port, on land. That is why you have schools like Muslim High that have to be moved to Bursubi, and all those areas now is going to be turned to, I would say, container areas. But now there is a suggestion that after 5 years with the Alport, if the 5 years elapse, what they are trying to do is turn in that area as well as a real estate, developing houses. You understand? No. After, the Alport has a period, like a 5-year period. Now, if these 5 years elapse, you will find that the areas that was taken, the lands that was taken from those people who used to reside at that area, those lands will now be rebuilt with new housing, a housing program for the port. You understand? Now, those families who used to live in those areas, some of them who are forced to sell their land, you understand? It means some of those people, they are still struggling to get for them to get a place where they're going to reside. Now, there have not been even a program whereby at least these people, if they need this particular house after or a home around this area, there is a specific priority that will be given to this individual. That is not even established. So it is so complicated to some extent, you understand. Now, having that, the trucks, as I tell you, it's an island, you understand. The soil is choked with water, you understand. Having heavy trucks, for example, like container trucks, is going to continue pushing the land down, you understand. And all these things are serious issues that are not being prioritized when it comes to I would say the project itself.
Yeah, well, I have listened to this person's response, the MD of Gambia Post Authority, Mr. Cisse, Adam Madi Cisse also. Yeah, he said like the area where those people are resided, it has been under government's like reserve land for so long. So it means whenever the government needs it, they are going to take it. So it means those people who either they buy it from someone else or it has been given them free. It means they are going to be their own risk that to move ahead with that.
Bro, there are some manipulative ideas and agendas that are going on. One thing I will tell you is you don't expect the thief to accept that I have stolen. You understand? Everyone will find a way in order to explain their idea or find an scapegoat. But the reality is some people have never wanted to sell their land. He cannot refute that. And there are people who own their own land. It was their own property.
So was it a state land or it was a private land?
What I'm saying is there are people, out of the ones that he have talked about, there are people whom they have compensated for taking their land. Then why will they compensate them? Or why will they pay them if at all they didn't own the land? If you don't own a property, why will I compensate you for taking your property, for taking that property?
That is.
It's crazy.
Definitely, so that's what I'm saying. Those are just scapegoats. But the reality is, there are people who are up to date suffering as a result of them being moved from that particular place. And that is not something that will sink well.
Okay, so now, like, what farm action
Your organization willing to take if the new development is
posing serious threat to the city?
No, the serious actions that we can take, because given what the law have provided for us, we are going to follow that. But if we realize as well, this is going to get to a point that we have to take a serious action against the government, even, you know, to some extent, we have to take that, because we cannot also just sit and watch them just, you know, destroy the future of this country, especially the city. You know, we cannot afford to lose Banjul. That's the reality. We cannot afford to lose Banjul. Banjul, historically, it contributed a lot towards the development of this country. We cannot afford to lose Banjul. And whatever it takes, there are young people who are ready to make sure that they will defend, preserve, and protect that particular land.
all right.
Well, viewers, you are working one-on-one here on Voice Out Digital. I'm joined today by Amadou Rijalo, a member of a youth-led organization that has been actively fighting for environmental injustice and so protecting the environment from degradation. So here is another pressing issue which is also alarming, that is the mining which is currently taking place at Saro, just a couple of meters away from the Denton Bridge. And so if you look at the proximity from Denton Bridge to the city, it's about 7 kilometers. So it means if there's ongoing sand mining down there, it could, according to environmental expert, could potentially damage the bridge, and then that bridge serves as a link from Banjul and then other parts of Combos. So, Mr. Jallo, what I want to ask you and to tell our audience is, like, what can you tell us about the ongoing sand mining that's currently taking place at Saro?
Destructive and damaging to the city, and without any empirical impact assessment it's been found, which have given the authority for that mining to take place. Like I highlighted earlier, we've tried our best to reach out, but I believe now legal actions. I know you've always persuaded me, because like they say now, when you're fighting, you don't need to tell the people where you're heading, but even a legal action will be taken. That's the only thing I can tell you. A legal action is possible, and we are working on that to make sure that all those people who have, you know, encroached within the wetland and of course doing environmental damaging activities around the city, and they think they can go scot-free around it, they are in the wrong generation, because this one we are not going to lay it low.
So, like, how
Committed are the state agencies like NEA and so on in joining the fight, like you guys have been fighting for so long, to make sure that the environments of the Gambia here are fully protected from degradation and so on?
Not serious.
Not serious at all?
Yes.
like explain it further for us?
I don't understand. What do you mean?
No, if I'm to give you an example, like I said, when we started sending the alert that there is another encroachment that is about to take place within the wetland, NEA went there, but they did not even publish anything about it. They did not tell the people who does it or what is happening there. Did you see it anywhere being published? And it is close to, I would say, 3-4 months ago since we alerted them about that place. Nothing, absolutely. Did you see it anywhere? No. So it means they don't take it seriously.
Alright, we've also realized, like, since this new
port expansion is currently taking place, critics say you guys have been quiet about it. then some are moving further accusing like your organization, since you have like supporting the NPP-led government and so on. So, you are indirectly benefiting from the project. That has been the reason you guys have been quiet about it for so long. So, is there anything that you wish to justify or clarify in relation to what has been said?
That could be provocative. But by the way, I would just take it like the way you put it. Arr Banjul have never and will never be corrupted, because the people that are found within Arr Banjul, you might not find anyone who or any other person who is more ethical about what they are doing than them. That's the only thing I can tell you. There's no way that you will start a fight about something, and then which is a communal or a national fight, then you individualize it. That is going to be selfish and wicked of you. Anyone who thinks that we are corrupted, I am not here to force anyone to believe us, because I believe the level of corruption in this country have made everyone to be, to be painted with the same brush. But I can tell you, our actions will vindicate us, not actually by saying words. Because if you say we have been corrupt, or we are giving some money, or some of us are working with NPP, give us evidence.
So you want them to back with evidence?
Yeah. Bring evidence.
All right.
You may drop your comments on the
comment section below. He's asking for evidence about the accusation which is currently being made against them in relation to have any link that has to do with NPP-led government. So I want to know, like, if this activity is currently going on without a stop, how is that going to impact your efforts in saving the city?
Like usually, my understanding of leadership and policy and programs, no matter how much effort you make, so long the objective is not been met, it will make it look as if actually nothing had been done. But we will assure you that our efforts will not go in vain. That's the only thing I can say. Our efforts will not go in vain, which means Banjul will continue to exist, and it will continue to be preserved, but also is going to continue being developed with environmental and climate change prioritization in every aspect of the development of the city.
Like
Permanently.
I don't want you to take me through what we are pushing. I tell you, all I can say is people who are destroying and damaging the environment of Banjul, right? Be ready, because there will be legal action that is going to be taken against them.
Yeah, because what I want to understand is, if you guys are fighting for environmental justice, at the same
Them,
time,
like, for example, someone is digging a hole while the other person will be busy filling the same hole. At the end, there will be no hole.
Yes, but if the person who is digging the hole is incapacitated, do you think they will be digging?
okay.
I will let them decide. Alright, so I want to know, like, is there any day or you guys send a petition to NEA or so on to make sure that
We wrote petitions to Geology, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Environment, NEA, Parks and Wildlife. All these institutions is either we've submitted a petition or we've met them one-on-one to engage them.
So what are some of the key issues that you guys have faced in that petition?
The key issues is about the industrialization of the wetland area, and as well making sure that the mining that is taking place in Banjul should stop.
So for how long? When was
the
it?
date you submitted a petition?
These are activities that have been taking place, I would say, since I would say around 7 to 8 months ago, or 1 year approximately.
So like when are you guys, because as petition
You maybe you give them like required dates and time for them to respond.
Yes.
So what was the specific date given? And then if they did not respond to your petition, like what would going to be your line of action?
That is why I tell you that we are about to take a legal action.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so
I want to know like how important is the environmental protection bill in safeguarding the city?
Very fundamental.
in what aspect?
Every aspect of our life.
Can you elaborate more?
No, we cannot live without protecting the flora and fauna of the Gambia. This is precious for economy, for our health, for our safety, for our existence, and as well for our development. So, prioritizing that bill should be everyone's priority in this country, more especially the people in the National Assembly. Like we continue engaging some of the National Assembly members to prioritize that bill, because it's very fundamental when it comes to the issues that is going to support and enhance the continuity of the Gambia itself. Because looking at the contribution of tourism alone in this country is massive. And the tourism, what tourism is selling is the flora and fauna of the Gambia. Now, making sure that it's been protected is not only my interest, but also the interest of the state. Not only the interest of you and I or people living in communities, but also the state. Looking at the contribution of agriculture towards the economy, in fact, I mean the circular economy of the Gambia, is fundamental. It cannot be underestimated. Now, looking at the potential of enhancing our flora and our fauna, our agricultural productivity in this country, what that impact will create when it comes to employment, when it comes to the physical or financial or resources or feeding and reducing the dependency of the Gambia when it comes to imported goods and services, and what that will help or what that will contribute towards reducing our health crisis in this country is massive.
By using the environmental lenses, like do you think like the government is so concerned about global warming is currently taking place? Because if you look, not even like I'm talking about like the rising sea level, the flooding and so on, but other issues are also taking place. Like the sun dust that took place, I don't know, 2020 or 2019 and so on. Like looking at that, do you think the government is so concerned about global warming?
That is at a global level, but I mean, looking at where they position the Gambia when it comes to issues of global warming, yeah, I would say, however, we should not relax, you understand, because how they position us, but there's a serious concern after us being positioned to say we are the only one who is following the Paris Agreement, or who are in line with the Paris Agreement. After that, look at the level of damage that is going on across this country. It's crazy, you understand? But I will say, there's still, I would say, it's not about the government sitting and prioritizing it. It's us knowing that having our environment being protected is fundamental for our existence as a people. Then we make the government to prioritize it, whether they like it or not, because it is a priority to the people. The priority of the people should be the priority of the government. Now, us as a people, let's continue prioritizing the issues surrounding our climate and our environment. When we do that, the government must prioritize it, because the government comes from the people, and of course it is the people who makes the government. Now, we cannot have the government just wake up anyhow and say they prioritize environment. No. We know in this country, you understand, politics have override everything. Now, which means as a people also we must understand what we need for our continuity, for our existence, and for the preservation of the land that we have, which we call home. So that is why, for me, whether the government prioritize it or not, It's not my problem. My problem is, have the people understand the importance of protecting and preserving their environment. If they don't, then the government must prioritize it, because we're going to continue ringing the bell in their ear until they have to answer to our call.
So now, how are you going to draw the line of policy implementation and policy formulation at the cabinet level, related to this topic we are currently discussing now?
I believe after the bill, if it has been passed already, then we will start having a different direction, because every policy and every program or every law that is introduced, it will come with new dynamics. You understand? So we have at our own level, as organizations and coalition, for example, the Gambia Environmental Alliance, which is playing a very key and fundamental role when it comes to this bill to be introduced at the Assembly, and their contribution towards making sure that it meets the needs of the Gambian society or the Gambian environment. You understand? So if that is already been established, I will say there are so many things that we need to we can put forth to make sure that we can have these particular policies and programs being implemented, but also they are measurable for us.
Before we take a lead, what are your final warning that you wish to share to our audience and then to every Gambian currently listening?
I would say Gambia is critical and important to all of us as citizens, and in that, prioritizing issues of climate and environmental protection should be a priority for every citizen of the Gambia, because looking at Gambia, it's I would say demographics. Environment play a role, a fundamental role in every aspect of our life, whether being at the economical, political, or social sphere. Now, having this environment being protected, being preserved, should be a priority for all of us, because we want continuity. We want Gambia to continue being a destiny for everyone who is within the Gambia, is able to have or breathe good air, have good environment, have a purified air to be able to sustain themselves, but also to be able to feed themselves, to be self-sufficient in a sense, whereas agricultural productivity has been prioritized. And if we want to put all of these things into action, we must prioritize the protection and the preservation of the environment. Now, in this, we should not wait for government. Rather, we should make the government to make it a priority. And having that, Banjul is the capital of the Gambia, and its role when it comes to the evolution, and of course the traditions of this country when it comes to politics, economic and social activities actually evolving from this particular community, it should be a priority for everyone. Like I used to tell people, everyone can claim that everyone can claim that I come from Jara, I come from Badibo, I come from this, I come from this. But Banjul itself, if you say you come from Jara, you could say Jara belongs to you people, or it belongs to the people of URR, this and that. But Banjul belongs to every citizen. It belongs to every Gambian. Every Gambian has a share in Banjul. Now, as a result of this, all of us must prioritize in making sure that Banjul is preserved and it has been protected. Because in the absence of Banjul, Gambia is going to lose greatly. So I'm urging all of us to come together, put our hands together to make sure that Banjul continue being the Banjul it is. But of course, better in terms of environmental protection and preservation, to make sure that Banjul is embellished with flora and fauna.
All right, this brings us to the end of today's program here on Voice Out Digital. Special thanks to our guest, Amadou Rijala, who has been giving us insightful information about environmental justice and then
the fight for protecting Banjul from degradation, flooding, and also that threat that is mostly worn by experts like rising sea level. Thank you so much for your time. And then special thanks to our wonderful viewers. Do follow us on all our social media handles. You may comment, like, share, and then come with your suggestion, and we will be willing to respond. And then special thanks to our people behind the scene, the camera operators. And then until I come your way, I'm your host Ismaila. Bye for now.